and welcome to another episode of Ronin's Den, where we like to talk about all things TTRPGs, play one-shots, and review the systems. Today, it's me and Steve, and we're going to be talking about some good old things that we found on the Reddits today. Some interesting topics. We just got done with a pretty long TikTok panel, so words and things might be
Yeah,
difficult.
it was well, we're gonna try our best tonight. Is all we're gonna promise.
Yes, because that was long and we covered a lot of topics. We're going to reach out to the people that were on that panel and see if we can post that video as well, because it was an interesting discussion, to say the least.
Absolutely. But anyway, I hear you got some Reddit posts for us, Duality. Why don't you start with the first one?
Yeah, so I think we'll go with the easiest one I
Eric.
found. Yeah, either way. I think we'll go with the easiest one that I found so far, and that's going to be most underrated systems. This person's asking, well, they're saying, their direct quote is, I feel there are so many hidden gems in the game, hobby. Or maybe not that hidden, but still not as popular as I feel they should be. For them, the most underrated game is Crown and Skull. And they say literally no one is talking about it. I've never heard of it.
No one's ever heard of it.
Yeah.
I've never heard of this.
And another one they
I'll have
say
to
that's
look it up later, but
me too. Another one they said that's pure gold is Runehammer when it comes to great ideas. So they're asking for people for systems that they feel deserve a little more spotlight. You want to go first?
yeah, sure, why not? So Runehammer. I've never played it. I know nothing about it, but I've heard of that one. I'll start with one that I think is very unknown that I've personally played and I absolutely adored, and the system is called Wield. So here's the elevator pitch for Wield. Why acquire the One Ring or Excalibur when you can play the One Ring or Excalibur? Wield, you literally play an ancient artifact of power. And you play the wielder of another player's ancient artifact of power. So you get to play this awesome, amazing item. Like I played an obsidian mask called Yaldabaoth. And my wielder was just a normal human, but you grant them powers and abilities that have a large range. Like one is you can deal 2 harm to someone, all the way up to you summon an unstoppable army of the undead that destroys the city you're in. That is like the scale of power in this Wield game. And the one I played with the improv GM Michael and Loch Nessa and Sarah, it was really a contrast. It made you think, how would this ancient, unknowable, powerful artifact view the people around it? Like when we started, we did a world building session and we were like in the 10th age of the world, and our items were created in the first age. So we'd literally seen empires rise and fall. Life was meaningless. We didn't care about our wielders. There was just, we had an end, a means to an end, and it made you really think about not being human, not being the person that's trying to change the world. Like, if this age I don't achieve my goal, I'm going to be around for 50 more ages to achieve my goal. And it's a simple system, but it's so good. And it's like nothing I've ever seen or played. And I really love it. However, it's not good for one shots, so it's never going to make it to the Ronin's Den one shots or Whimsy's whimsical one shots. You
Winry.
need to play a campaign of
Yeah.
that.
Winry's whimsical one shots. Whimsies.
Yeah.
Well, we did say words are going to be hard tonight.
Whimsy's But
Um,
yeah, so that is probably my first underrated system. What about you, Duality?
well, honestly, I'm just going to plug it. We plug it so much on the show already, but it's going to be Legends of Kralis. It's it doesn't get
Fair
it,
enough.
it doesn't have the recognition that I think it deserves, like at all. It's an awesome, easy to use, easy to pick up and learn system. It looks intimidating. Like the first time you open it up and look at the book, it really looks intimidating, but the more I sit down and play with the system, the the variety of characters that you can make with it and how you can go from the fantasy to the space age technology all rolled into one, it's just it scratches a lot of itches. um so yeah, I'm definitely gonna shamelessly plug Kralis there, but
It's
aside from
okay.
aside from that
Levi's
one
a good
though,
friend.
yes, absolutely. um but aside from that one, I'm gonna say Fabula Ultima. Like, I that is a system I think that it hits what a lot of people are looking for out there, for that mix of rules light narrative, but with concrete enough rules to actually have a clear and distinct play style that I'm surprised more people, especially in the D&D 5e community, haven't latched onto that one. Like, I can see why they wouldn't latch on the Kralis, but Fabula Ultima, I'm surprised with.
Uh, I agree with both. I will say the hardest part of Kralis is the character creation.
Yeah.
But once you get the character creation, everything else in Kralis is so smooth. Like, I- we've played it multiple times now. And the one thing I always want to point out, one of the biggest complaints about like 5e and other systems is how big of a slog combat is. And with a game like Kralis, with all these different abilities and all these different dynamically different characters, you'd think combat is sloggy and slow, and it's not. I think our longest combat was 15 minutes,
Yeah.
and that was multiple rounds, multiple people doing things, and it wasn't, it's just snappy.
Well,
It's so quick.
and that combat too, I want to point out, that wasn't in just one spot. That was a dynamic combat that we moved around that map in a significant way. Not just like we shifted over here a little bit. Like we went from house to house. Like we were clearing an area, and it was 15 minutes.
And we were also trying to hide from these freaking worms.
Yeah. So I mean, there
Let,
was a
let's
lot to that scenario.
Well, and that also plays into the and this is going to be a Kralis promo. Let's
Right?
be honest. We Our first game we played of Kralis together, me and you, it was a space adventure that
Mm-hmm.
turned into a dungeon dive where we were literally, our ship broke down. We had to go into this dungeon. We fought Fembre because we can't call them aliens because that's proprietary property. Fembre. We fought Fembre, and we got back to the ship, and we got the hell out of Dodge. We turned a science fiction setting into a fantasy dungeon crawl. Then our second game was a horror movie. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
These worms were infecting and like coming out of the walls, coming out of the shitter. Like, we went from sci-fi to fantasy to horror in 2 games. And that is a testament to that system to be able to pull it off, and it seamlessly pulled it off.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Love it. I've been making characters for it all week.
And then your other one, Fabula Ultima.
Yeah.
It it I don't I think if you're looking for the rules light, if you're looking for something where there's no racial ability modifiers because there's no races. If you want to play a tiger person, you're a tiger person. If you want to play an orc, you're an orc. If you want to play a lizard man, you're a lizard man. If you want to play a six-headed dog, you're a six-headed dog. There's no mechanical difference. You can play whatever you want. It doesn't impact your character. And it's fully focused on the classes that you pick and then the abilities that you pick off of those classes. So, like you said, a lot of 5e players, I think, would absolutely adore Fabula Ultima because it is literally what they've been trying to put 5e, make 5e. And then the combat, there's no tacticalness, there's no grid, there's no flanking, there's no positioning. It's the JRPG where you have your three guys, then there's the three enemies, and you fight back and forth.
Yep.
And I think a lot of 5e players would love Fabula Ultima. Like you said, I'm not sure a lot of 5e players would love Kralis. I personally do, but their loss, not ours.
Right. But yeah, those would be mine. You want to do the next? You want to hear the next one?
Yeah, why
All right.
not?
All right. So, do we want to do the? Do we want to save the horror story for last?
Yes.
Okay. So this next one, this kind of touches on things that we were talking about tonight on that panel. And the header is, I hate how many games focus on combat when that is the one thing TTRPGs unquestionably do worse than board games or video games. The poster says, it just feels like the medium is not correctly understanding its strengths. TTRPGs have the advantages of imagination, precise interactivity, and flexibility. Combat systems barely play into that at all. Most medium complexity and above games even give a specific set of actions the players can use to interact with the world, perfect to be coded into a video game like Baldur's Gate 3. Social and environmental encounters naturally play much more to the natural strengths of this medium, but they are rarely given a tenth as much space dedicated to their mechanics. I like medium crunch. I like feeling like I'm actually playing a game and not just a storytelling activity, but putting all of the crunch and therefore making it natural for the game to spend most of its time in combat just leads to a TTRPG serving as a lesser board game or a video game for most of its playtime. They go on to say, I want social mechanics designed around specific words or concepts, i.e., a system of bonuses and penalties depending on exactly how the conversation went, what words were used, what concepts were brought up, and how naturally it flowed. I want environmental systems more complex than I look for traps. These two quote-unquote pillars, to use the D&D word, provide gameplay styles and flexibility that no other medium could replicate, but they feel like most games negate them mechanically. So this person wants more social and exploration mechanics in the game. And I'm going to say, I think they're saying that, but I don't think they actually mean that.
Well, my question is, what TTRPGs has this person played?
Sounds
Because
like D&D.
if you want exploration rules, I got a game for you. It's called Forbidden Lands. Forbidden Lands has one of the most in-depth exploration rules out there. It gives you a blank map. It gives you the ability, like, every person picks a role within the party. Like, one is the leader, one is the watcher, one is the... I don't have them memorized. But you all have a different role. Like, one of you is responsible for gathering to, like, make sure everybody's fed. And when you move to the next hex of the map, it's randomly generated. You don't know what you're going to get. You might find nothing based on the mechanics and how the game works. Or you might find a combat. You might find an ancient ruin. You might find a keep. It's open-ended. There is nothing predetermined. So if you want exploration, there are exploration games out there. Now, granted, the downfall of Forbidden Lands is that combat and social mechanics are forgotten. It's what it is. I don't think any game really will ever do all three
Yep.
properly. And if you want social mechanics, there are a lot of games out there with really good social mechanics. Look up games like Good Society. What the fuck is it called? Good Society, Montsegur, The King is Dead. There are a lot of games out there that are perfect for social interactions. I think the problem is this person has probably only played D&D or trad style games where the focus is combat and everything else is just hand wavy,
Yep.
is my thought on it.
That's exactly what I'm feeling on this one too. It's like I get that they play a lot of D&D, specifically 5th edition. Older editions, second, first edition, OD&D, like the original stuff, they had more hex crawl elements to them that they still like to do, and there was a lot more to the exploration aspects in those editions. But as time went on, it became more about like the superhero individual character power fantasy. Nothing wrong with that. That's just where it decided to lean into their mechanics. Um, and there are aspects of 5e that bleed into at least the exploration side of things pretty heavily, and that was the original Ranger. Nobody liked it. Everybody hated it. I haven't heard one person say good things about the Rangers, except for the Gloomstalker. Everybody likes the Gloomstalker, but the exploration heavy Rangers, nobody likes them from what I can tell. So,
Even in 5th edition, the Ranger is not a bad class. It just doesn't fit the game, right? The Ranger is like they can't get lost. They always know where they are in the wilderness. So if you're not playing a game or doing things that promote, like, it feels like it was a class that was put in there just for the exploration players, but it doesn't mesh with everybody else. And I don't know, I feel like I want to say that there's no game that is actually ever going to get all three well. I think Kralis does a very good job of
yeah.
getting close to it. And once again, I'm giving Kralis its flowers. I can't praise what Levi has done with that system enough. Uh, I feel like if you're looking for all three, you need to branch out of D&D and you've got to go to these hyper crunchy systems. Like Legends isn't, I wouldn't say it's extremely crunchy, but it's crunchy. I know Levi doesn't like when I say that, but it is a crunchy system. But it has rules for exploration. If you
Yep.
go to the Game Master Guide, it has different environments and things that can happen and how it affects the battlefield and dynamically. He's got rules for social interactions. He has really done his due diligence to try to bring all three. I don't think it's perfect, but
No.
it's really good. But you're not going to get that in D&D. Just not the D&D of today.
No, and I mean, just like to put out, like, social abilities. Like, there's an entire section in the book dedicated to social abilities, like things that your characters can do, like Silver Tongue Devil. You're one of the most deceptive, you are one of the more deceptive and conniving, insidious, convincing individuals around. You can target one individual per 20 points of convinced, and you can see on your turn. As you speak, the target is strained to hear sort through your web of lies and trickery. So you get a ability that actively helps you lie in a social situation. You're never going to use that in combat. You're going to use that
Yeah.
in a social, verbal role playing back and forth thing, and it gives you a mechanic to fall back on that's not just GM and player fiat of, yeah, no, I as the GM believe your lie, or think that your lie is convincing enough to get past this test. It's no, I actually have a skill and we have a set of things that we can roll to determine if that was pass or fail. So yeah, is it perfect? No, but it has the rules and it tries and it does a good job of it, a really good job. in comparison to D&D and a lot of other systems. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah, that's really about it. It does such a good job, and I feel like we constantly praise it, but it truly deserves that praise that
Yeah.
we're giving it. So I don't feel bad. And plus, Levi's just such a good guy.
Yeah.
It's hard to not love what he's done. You can feel the love in the system. And that's something that I feel is missing from a lot of games today. Is that love. That it's Kralis is a labor of love from Levi to the people playing the game, and you can feel that. You can sense that.
Well, I mean, look at what he does when, somebody like you suggested, I'd like to play a dragon. He takes player feedback and he works with it to see what he can do and if he can make it fit and work for the system. That's on the website. There's a new player character species up there. Was it the rabbit people one? I can't remember their name.
Yeah.
That was a player suggested item, and Levi worked on it, built it, and put it up on the website for people to grab. Um, yeah, no, I love the system, and I will shamelessly plug it every chance that I get.
Absolutely. I would have wore my shirt tonight, but my wife took it with her when she left, and I'm very mad because that's my shirt, and I told her she's not allowed to wear that shirt, and she's wearing it anyway. So
Gotta move the beard.
anyway,
I'm wearing mine. All
but
right.
yeah. So ultimately, back to this Reddit post, I think that the person is probably playing D&D or D&D like games
Yes.
when there are games that do the other pillars very well. But to find one that does them all is going to be very, very hard.
Yes. I mean, even Fabula Ultima touches on the other pillars decently enough, at least in the exploration side of things, because it has the players build that up as time goes on through their own interactions. But it's not a mechanic heavy one. I got to check out Forbidden Lands though. I have heard it so many times, but I have never even looked at it.
It's free league. So if
Okay,
you've played the Mutant Year Zero engine, you've played the game.
I
It's
haven't.
just they've added a lot of exploration rules to it,
Okay,
and it's very good. I can't knock it. It's very good.
all right. Well, and then because we always got to close out with an RPG horror story. And this is a topic that I think that we talk about quite a lot. Um, the headline is character does not want to join the party. All right. The OP says we're in a campaign that's been going on for a month. Players have been cycling in and out, and a new player just joined the campaign playing a rogue. Of course, it's a rogue. This rogue's first instinct is to sneak up on us, rob us, and sneak away. Of course it is. Upon sneaking away, I spot him, hold person, and take my money back before telling him that we don't want any trouble. He tells us that he can't trust us. His character has a massive bounty on his head, and he can't leave the forest. I think this is a perfect opportunity to get the rogue in the party because I had a bounty on my head until recently. So we'll just take the rogue to the guy who got rid of mine. Makes sense. The DM says purely role playing between PCs happens without rolls. The rogue insists to roll insight versus my persuasion. I get a 22, the rogue gets a nat 1. The rogue still doesn't trust us and tries to flee the party and hide until we leave. Does this guy even want to play D&D with us? No, they don't. Or they do, but they want you to play D&D with them based on how they've determined they want the game to go. That's just my first sentence on that. But anyway, Steve?
No, he doesn't want to play D&D. I'm going to make this very, very clear, and I'm going to say it with my whole chest because I've said it before. If you cannot find a reason for your character to go with the other characters, make a new character. Make a new character.
Yes.
Stop being a dick. I don't understand. And it's always rogues, isn't it?
Rogues and
It's
bards.
always rogues.
Oh wait, no,
Bar-
not bards.
Bards are.
Sorcerers. Rogues and sorcerers.
I can give you some sorcerers, but yeah, rogues especially.
Yes.
Why do people feel like a rogue has to be this? I don't have a reason. I shouldn't trust you. Blah 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 blah. Han Solo in Star Wars 1977 was a rogue. Let's be honest, he was a rogue, right? He had no reason to go with Luke and Obi-Wan. Why did he? Because they said they'd pay him. He got sucked in by the Death Star. He had no reason to save the princess. Luke goes, she's a princess. She's probably wealthy. She's probably beautiful. You save her, you know, you might get a little something one way or the other. And the rogue, being the rogue, goes, okay, I'm in. Like, if you are not willing to, like, his alignment and his character definitely was not the one that was going to go save the princess. He was not the one that was going to go join the hero and the farm boy, the ancient wizard and the farm boy, to go fight an evil empire. But they were able to convince him through money, through personal and gain, things of that nature, right? And then through the role playing, he leaves and makes that triumphant return at the end of the movie to save Luke, because through that his character grew and he changed to come to care for the people he was with. You don't have to trust the party, but you can play an untrusting, unhelpful character who grows and changes, and it can be one of the most beloved characters in history because Han Solo did it in a single movie.
Okay. Not only that, the Three Musketeers. They were swashbucklers, right?
They're rogues.
They are rogues. In D&D Second Edition, the swashbuckler class or kit is in the rogues, or I'm sorry, back then they were just called thieves. It was a thief class. Swashbucklers work. If you look at the Three Musketeers, they worked as a team, and they were just three members of a much larger organization, who was arguably a good organization, like a law enforcement type thing. Like, if they can do a rogue that does that, your rogue can join a party. And especially since the player had, now there's two things out of this one. One, the player had a way to get rid of his bounty. So the player playing the rogue, just like, seriously, you just ignored an entire easy in for you there. That's like a why. But then there's the insisting for the die roll. And they lost their contest. They lost. The persuasion roll succeeded. They should have honored that roll and gone with the party to do however, get the bounty removed or whatever the persuasion was at that point. Because dice came into play, the dice should have been honored.
And the thing was, it wasn't the game master who brought the dice into play. He brought it in himself.
Exactly.
Himself. So I also want to touch a little bit quickly on this whole concept of like characters that don't mesh with the party. I think it is 100% the player.
Mm-hmm.
It is not the character, it is the player. Because I've had people that are like, oh, I don't play in games with evil characters because they're always a detriment. That's not an evil character that's the problem. It's the player that's the problem. I had a wizard named Morai the Magnificent. He was one of the most evil bastards ever. Do you know why he went with the party? Do you know why he went with the party?
Mm-mm.
He went with the party because he had a connection to one of the characters who was a lawful good paladin who was his brother. He saw the strength of the other members of the party and made an assessment that it was better to have them on his side than them against him. And all of his evil machinations that he wanted to do, if he could convince his brother that he was a good guy for all these years, when all the bad came to light, the party would more than likely stand up for him and be like, no, this can't be. And his brother, no matter what he did, after all the years they were together, would defend him no matter what. His oath was to his brother Morai. So he built this trust and this connection all while doing all of these terrible things. And he literally created a shield in front of him by manipulating them. And he was a great party member. You can find reasons to be with the party even if you don't, your character's motivations are different, his thoughts are different. You can find reasons. If you don't, it's because you are the problem, not the party.
No, fully agree. Now, I will say that I also feel like this character really just wanted to be the main character.
Absolutely.
Like, they were 100% trying to look for a reason to suck the other players into what they wanted to do. I can't say that for a fact, but that is a feeling that I have anytime the scenario is described plays out, in my opinion. They were given an ability to get rid of the bounty. That would have cleared off the path for them to be able to follow. And they ignored a die roll that they themselves initiated and asked for. They wanted a specific result, and they weren't getting it. So yeah, I don't think that they wanted to play D&D with that group. I think they wanted that group to play D&D with them.
Question is, what were they trying to achieve? Like, have the party stay in the woods with them? Like, what was the goal there?
I don't know, and I went through a lot of the posts trying to find a response from the original poster, and I couldn't find one. One guy, or gal, I'm not sure, one poster, said my edgy loner only works alone. He stands in the corner of the tavern and broods menacingly in your general direction. Nah, I don't get those people either. It's either the player's responsibility to make a character that has a reason or wants to join a party. No one wants to have to convince Blaze McStabbington to join the party for 2 hours until he reluctantly agrees. They want to get to the dungeoning and the dragoning. And I fully support that post.
What was that name again? Blaze McStabbers?
Blaze McStabbington. And I am going to steal that for a character. Because
Blaze McStabbington.
Yes, that is going to become an NPC in one of my games. And he's going to be horrible. He's going to be a very edgy barfly that just stares at people creepily in a bar somewhere. What's your name? Blaze.
So, no, not to defend these people, right? Not to defend them. But I also think at least a little modicum of the blame has to go to the system itself,
Yes.
right? Dungeons and Dragons, for whatever you want to say, it assumes that you are a bunch of nobodies who don't know each other, who meet in a tavern and decide we're going to go dungeon delving and kill monsters. Mm-hmm. There's no setup. There's no connection. Like, let's talk about another game that we've highlighted on this show, The Crypt is Opened. Yep. At the beginning of that game, you roll a die, a d6 based on your background, and you pick one of the other players, or they call dibs on this connection to you, right? So, Jeffrey's character was went to a prestigious school. One of his was that the other player was kicked out of that school at some point or had something, and we determined it was your character. There was instantly a connection to how the two knew each other and how they related to one another. Like, the game itself promoted that camaraderie, promoted that connection to help drive the fact that this is a cohesive group that works together. Monster of the Week does the same thing. Masks does the same thing. A lot of systems do this, and I don't want to blame the system fully, but there is kind of a theme where other systems don't have this issue, and you have to look at that as a contributing factor.
Correct.
Not that it is the reason, but it is a contributing factor.
Yep. And I mean, Fabula Ultima, it has a whole section when you're making your characters. Part of the thing is to determine what kind of party are you? Are you seekers? Are you revolutionaries? Are you guardians? And then it gives you the reasons why your characters would have come together and are going to function as a party. It's a part of character creation right before the game starts. You're supposed to pick what kind of party are you. I know we skipped that in the one shot, but it wasn't going to come into play during the one shot. And then, I mean, let's plug Levi again. In his Game Master Guide, he goes through how to help create a cohesive party, both as a GM, things that you can do to promote that, and as a player, the things that you can do to bite onto that and form that cohesion with the other party members. So
Exactly.
it is.
So,
I feel it's
like I
not a
said,
uniquely D&D problem, but it's very prevalent in D&D to have this issue.
I mean, the shitty players are going to be shitty in other systems,
Yeah.
but and I know that there are people that are going to say, well, a lot more people play D&D, that's why it only shows up in D&D. No, because a lot of these other systems never have that. So if 1,000 people are playing D&D and 100 of them are doing this, and only 100 people are playing Fabula Ultima, and one of them should be doing it. And that's not how it's working out. That's not how it's. You get what I'm saying there.
Yeah, because you can't have
There is a
you can't have that discohesion or lack of cohesion, I should say. I just made up a word that doesn't exist in Fabula Ultima, because you have to agree before you start playing what kind of party are you. Like, it's just part
exactly.
of the setup. If you have that one person at that point, you have that problem before the game even starts, and that's not a problem. That's a discussion. It's only a problem if people can't agree
Yeah.
past that point. D&D, no, you have that. You always have that person. 1 out of 3 sessions. Oh, I just don't want to go with the party. You haven't given me a reason to. I just don't see a reason why my character would do that.
And I want to touch on that again. If you are role playing your character, like I said, Han Solo didn't want to save the princess. His whole thing was, I don't care. But after the role playing happened, he came around to it and went and did it. I don't care if a character's like, why do we care about this situation? Why are we gonna go do this adventure? And then 2 other guys are like, listen, this this person or this or whoever we're going to help has a lot of money. They got a really hot daughter, like you might, or a really hot son if you're a whatever, they've got a hot child that is of age. They might be looking for a suitor. If you help them out, might get you in. Like, there are ways to role play why you would go do it, and you as a player need to latch on to those and be like, all right, I really don't want to do this, but you guys convinced me.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I have a
you
chance
can
to become a
be that
prince.
hard ass. Yeah. I mean, you can be that hard ass that needs a reason, but you've got to let the reasons to drive you, right? Like,
Even if it's not the precise reason you're looking for, like, yeah, I'm sorry that they didn't say that you're going to track down the Ruby of Awesomeness, and that's what you were waiting to hear for your character to latch on and go. But they gave you 5 other reasons. You're at the table to play the game. Play the freaking game. Take any one of those reasons, play the freaking game, and then mention throughout the game, you know, by the way, I'm really looking to get my hands on the Ruby of Awesomeness. Wouldn't it be nice if we could go get the Ruby of Awesomeness? Yeah, you know, GM, maybe you can write a story where I can go get this item because I really want it for my character. Like, latch.
I definitely agree. We went on a tangent there, but it was pertinent to the
It was
topic.
pertinent to the topic. We stayed on track, which we had a less
But
success doing on that panel earlier today.
that was wild. But anyway.
Anyway,
Anyway, yeah.
that is
It
all I
has
had.
been this has been the Ronin's Den podcast. This has been Den Talk, where Eric and I just go over some Reddit posts. We have a couple other ideas coming down the pike where we might review like history of D&D, history of characters, history of classes. We haven't really thought those out yet, but Den Talk is going to be that type of a thing. We have some other exciting things coming up. Next weekend, we are posting the one shot of DC Heroes, potentially, if Duality can find the file. We'll see.
I don't know where it
But
is.
anyway, yeah, we played DC Heroes. The awesome Simon out of print GM on TikTok ran that for us. It was actually a lot of fun. I love the fact that Green Arrow got kicked out of Gotham by Batman for almost blowing up the city.
Right?
But yeah, spoilers for those who might hear this or see this. Yeah, and then on June 1st, we have our Cyborg one shot. We have a great group of people that are planning on playing that with us, and we are looking very forward to that. Also, at the end of June, I believe it's 29th, we're looking for one or two more people to play Grimwood City. That was our guest last week, Dave Ward, the creator of Grimwood City. He's looking to run that for us at the end of June. We are super excited about that one as well. And yeah, that is what is going on at Ronin's Den. I'm Steve. That's Eric. Thank you for watching. If you still are, this has been Den Talk.